Father in heaven, once again, I just simply tell you thank you. Before I even ask you for anything, God, just thank you first and foremost for being you, for your sovereignty, that at the end of the day, everything is, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, everything is all still now unto you. And it's because it's all now unto you that, God, you continue to keep us day in and day out, moment by moment, from mercy to mercy and grace to grace. Now, Father, what I will ask you for is teaching moment is to simply move us all out of the way. Move us out of the way. Let your vessel stand, and Lord, hide him behind your sacred cross. Let him break the bread of life so that we may be not just closer to you, not just using pseudo holy jargon to sound like you, but God, help us to truly be more like you. It's these things that I ask in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. We in the book of Romans this evening. Make the necessary adjustments now, because once he gets started, that's it. We're in the book of Romans, the 12th chapter. Romans 12, and we will start at the 9th verse. And it reads, and I'm reading out of the NIV translation, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality.
As Jonathan told you, we are in the book of Romans tonight. And this study, I knew I was going to do this earlier this week. And then I got to like studying. And in my study, I came to realize just last night, this wasn't all going to happen tonight. This wasn't all going to happen tonight because there's so much here. There's so much here. Now, Jonathan, he read from the NIV, and the section heading, as he said in the NIV, is love in action. But in the ESV, the section heading, and this is why you can't always go by the section headings, because different translations are going to tell you something different. In the ESV, it's called Marks of the True Christian. Yeah, Marks of the True Christian. And that is where we get our title for tonight. And our title for tonight is Real Christians. Real Christians. Scripture outlines for us what it means to be a Christian. What does a follower of Jesus look like? So I'm going to read this out of the ESV. We've already heard it out of the NIV. I'm going to read it out of the ESV, and then we're going to get going in this thing. In the ESV, it says, "Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. Be constant in prayer. Contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality." Here are our points. And I'm just going to review them real quick, and then we're going to get to them. Real Christians are, you can put that in front of each one of these. Real Christians are real in relationships, attracted to the things of God, committed to each other like sisters and brothers, always looking for ways to honor each other, fully intent on obedience, deeply committed to submission, delightful in the waiting, not prone to giving up, continuously demonstrating trust in God, rarely seen trying to go it alone, and real Christians are always looking for people to love on. So that first point, real in relationships. Real Christians are real in relationships. Verse 9 starts off by saying, love must be sincere. Love must be sincere, or love must be genuine. As Christians, love must be genuine. Let me back up just a little bit so that those who aren't as familiar with the scripture know where we are. This is Romans chapter 12, the beginning of Romans chapter 12. This is familiar. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what is God's will, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That's what he said. And this is Paul writing to the church at Rome, and long before he ever got to Rome. And this is the first thing that we see here in chapter 12, of course. Remember, if there's a therefore, we need to know what it's there for. So here we are. Paul is telling the Romans, and God's telling us, because he used Paul's letter, to be transformed, to sacrifice our bodies. That is how we worship. And then he goes on to say that we should be humbly exercising spiritual gifts. Humbly exercising. We shouldn't be thinking of ourselves that like we got it figured out, that we're the smart ones, that we're wise, or that our gift is better than the next person's or less than, but we should be humble. So we should sacrifice our bodies, renew our minds, and operate in spiritual gifts humbly. And then he goes on a little bit further to explain what this should look like as we do those things. So this carries an assumption that we already know we're supposed to be doing those things. We've already sacrificed our bodies. We've already begun the renewing of our minds, allowing ourselves to be transformed and no longer conforming to this world. And so if we're no longer conforming to this world, then that means we're going to be different. And so these things that we're looking through tonight, they're going to be different. And some of them are going to pinch a little bit. And some of it's going to be a tight squeeze just a little bit. But hopefully it blesses you the same way it blessed me as I studied through this. So again, love must be genuine. Love must be sincere. Love cannot be phony. What this really means is when we love on other people, we should not have any hidden agenda for ourselves. Now, the word love shows up in these few little verses a couple times, and it says love both times in our language, in English, but that's not what Paul said. Right here, he said agape must be sincere. And agape love it's a discriminating affection. Well, hold on. That sounds like a bad thing if it's discriminating. Well, that's only part of it. A discriminating affection which involves choice and selection. That means that when I agape you, just throw a little Greek in there, a little Greeklish. When I agape you, I choose to love you. I choose to have an affection for you. It's a love that centers in moral preference, a leaning in of our hearts towards the endearment of others. Like my heart leans toward you by choice. So if I'm going to lean into you, to endear you, just to love on you, just to use our limited English word, if I'm going to love on you and I choose to, then it needs to be real, and it needs to not be because I'm looking to get something out of it. Like, oh, I love you because I can't. Nope. It's just, I just want to love you, like all the way, because that's how God loves us. This is the type of this is the type of love that God has towards us. And so his love is a love of choice. He's chosen us. And we choose to love on one another. Now, one more thing about this is for us to be real in relationships, that means that we cannot be manipulative. When we love others and show love to others with a hidden agenda or to get them to do something for us, we are being manipulative. And Real Christians are real in relationships. And so real Christians are not going to manipulate others in relationships. We want to do good for others. And we want to do good just because it's good. We want to have goodwill towards people just because it's good, not because of what it can do for us or what it can get us. It's completely selfless. So again, real Christians are real in relationships. This next point, real Christians are attracted to the things of God. That's just the next part of this verse. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. This word evil is like being is like gross. It's something that's really, really awful. The word that's used here comes from a word that means laborious trouble. Now, when I think of laborious trouble, like it's bringing trouble, making things hard. That's what evil is. What are some examples of evil? Well, manipulating people. We just talked about that one. That is trouble, and it makes things complicated. It makes things difficult. I don't know, maybe not caring for the poor. If we don't care for the poor, if we don't do things, and when I say poor, I simply mean less advantaged than us. Because at any given moment, in any 2 to 4 week span of time, all of us feel a little bit poor. But anyone who is less advantaged than us in any way, shape, or form, it's not just about money. Evil. We should hate the things that bring about a painful labor, but we should cling to what is good. This is why we're attracted to the things of God. Cling to what is good. And anything that's good originates from God. God is good. Anything that's good comes from God. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. I believe that's in James chapter 2 or 3. We should cling to what is good. We should be repelled from what is bad. Think of a magnet. Like you see the magnets, and you know how, you got the negative side, you got the positive side. And in order for a magnet to stick together, the negative is attracted to the positive. But if you take the negative and you flip the other magnet around, and there's two negative forces, they will oppose one another. We should be like the magnets. Now, we are negative. We are born into sin, and so it's already in us. Because it's already in us, at just the right time, God sent a savior to die for us because we couldn't do anything about it for ourselves. And so in this newness of life, we experience and live out positive. The fruit of the Spirit is born out in our lives. It is produced in our lives, but by ourselves, we're negative. The Holy Spirit produces the positive. So when there is the negative in the world, we should be repelled from it. But the positive, which is the things of God and God himself, we should stick to it like a magnet. We should be drawn towards it. And we should repel the things that are not of God. Our next point, we should be, real Christians are committed to each other like sisters and brothers. What it says here in the scripture, it says, be devoted to one another in love. I like the way the ESV puts it. It says to love one another with brotherly affection. Love one another with brotherly affection. And so this is, remember I told you that there were two places where Paul used the word love. First, in verse 9 was agape. And here he uses a word we know as a city, Philadelphia. That's where the brotherly love, like we should be loving each other like brothers and sisters. It comes from a word that means a close bond of personal affection. It's a close bond of personal affection. Agape doesn't necessarily require a close bond. It, it doesn't necessarily require that much of a bond at all. It still must be genuine. It must be sincere. But this philos, this Philadelphia, it comes from experiential relationship. It's experience-based love. Like, we have an ongoing relationship. As part of this faith community, we are brothers and sisters. And just like brothers and sisters, we might not always get along, but let somebody else come for our brothers and sisters, and they're going to find out that they don't have authorization not to get along with our brothers and sisters. We have experience with one another. And so we love each other because we have experience with one another, because we are in each other's company. And we have a commitment because we're in a community. Within community is born commitment. We should have a commitment towards one another. Real Christians have a commitment towards one another. That is real Christianity. When Jesus, and we talked about this in the series in Jude, when Jesus' brothers and his mother came and were looking for him, while he was in Nazareth, they sent somebody inside and said, "Hey, your mom and your brothers are outside." And Jesus said, "Who?" "My mother and my brothers are those who listen to me, those who obey me, those who do the Lord's will." Jesus established there that there should be a bond between us as his followers that at times may supersede our connection and commitment to our biological families, our brothers and sisters in Christ. We should be committed to. Our church is our family of choice. We got our family of origin. You didn't choose who gave birth to you. You didn't choose who brought you into this world. You ain't asked to be here. But if you ask Jesus to save you, then you ask to be part of this family. And so if we family, we gonna fam. Our next point is that real Christians are always looking for ways to honor each other. Real Christians are always looking for ways to honor each other. What do I mean by that? Well, scripture says pretty clearly right here in this next part of verse 10, to outdo one another in showing honor. Another translation says, take the lead in honoring one another. Honor one another above yourselves. Every human being is created in the image of God. We are created in his image and his likeness. And therefore, we should honor the image of God in everybody. Loving each other based on our experience with one another as brothers and sisters. And I should be looking to out honor you. Like, nope, you're not going to be nicer to me than I am to you. Nope, you're not going to defer to me better than I can defer to you. And it's not a competition. We're not in competition against one another. We're actually in competition for one another. We compete for one another. Everyone is deserving of honor. Everyone is deserving of honor. We don't dishonor people just because they don't present themselves as respectable or they do bad things. Some people just do bad things, but they still are deserving of honor because they were made in the image and likeness of God. And when he created them, he had a plan in mind for them. He had a way that he intended to use them to accomplish his work. They may have strayed away from it, but God is not a quitter. Because see, the work, my God, he is faithful to complete the work that he started in us. He is faithful to see it through if we partner with him. And as long as that person is living, they still have a chance to partner with God. And so what would I look like dishonoring someone who God intends and desires to use to accomplish his work and bringing his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Real Christians are fully intent on obedience and deeply committed to submission. Fully intent on obedience, deeply committed to submission. What does that mean? Where do you get that from? Verse 11, never be lacking in zeal, be fervent in spirit. Never be lacking in zeal, be fervent in spirit. And then it goes on and says, serve the Lord. Well, this first part, to never be lacking, this word lacking is the same as lagging. Our spirit should not be like that. Our zeal should not be like that. We should not be dragging our feet in the zeal department, but we should be fervent in spirit. And zeal, it's a weird word. Nobody really uses it. It means enthusiasm. So we should be enthusiastically picking up our feet, metaphorically, and fervent in spirit. Fervent means to be deeply committed to something with the implication of accompanying desire. So there's commitment and there's desire. We should be committed and have a desire with our enthusiasm and picking up our feet to serve the Lord. Serve the Lord. And to serve simply means to obey and submit. When you go to a restaurant and your server comes and takes your order, and you say that you would like a New York strip and you would like it wasted or well done. If the server goes in the back and tells the chef, yeah, make this medium, your server is not serving you. If you want a hockey puck for a steak, then that's what they should give you, because they are serving you. It means to obey. And even if they know that there's not going to be any juices and no flavor left in your steak because you like it overcooked, they need to submit to your order. And so in our service to God, we obey him. When I might not like what God told me to do, he said that I need to forgive this person. When God says forgive, when God says go, when God says give, obey, submit to his will and do what he says do. Fervent in spirit, with enthusiasm, committed, and with a desire. And the psalm writer said, if you delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Like, well, how am I going to desire to forgive somebody who has a nasty attitude? How am I going to desire to forgive someone who cheated on me? How am I going to desire to show honor to somebody who who doesn't want schools to teach the history of an accurate representation of the history of our country, because they might come to find out that my ancestors were treated poorly, and therefore I'm still treated poorly because the systems that were in place were never fixed. How am I honor that person? I don't think. How do I desire? Delight yourself in the Lord, and you'll magically, well, not magically, it's miraculously find yourself desiring to love on folks who wear red hats and think that John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive. Verse 12, real Christians delight in the waiting. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. And the way the ESV says to rejoice in hope. Now, where have we seen that? But where have I heard rejoice in hope? Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into his grace, in which we now stand, and we boast in the hope of the glory of the Lord. in this translation, this is the NIV, it says we boast in it. In the ESV, it says, and we rejoice in the hope. We rejoice in this hope. To rejoice is to find delight in God's grace. Rejoice is simply to delight in God's grace. And that's what it says right there in Romans 5:2. Like, we have been granted grace by God through our faith in Jesus Christ. Like, that grace, like, I rejoice in the hope that his grace gives me. Now, we know that hope is just an expectation. Like, how am I supposed to delight in just mere expectation? Like, yeah, I hope they cancel student loan debt, but like, how I'm supposed to be? How am I going to delight in something that hadn't happened yet? Well, because we know that we have been given grace for our sinfulness, that evil that we talked about in verse 9, that evil that's inside of us, the negative side of the magnet that dwells within us, our flesh, God's covered it with his grace. And so whether student loans get canceled or not, I can still find my delight in the Lord. Whether or not this relationship is ever reconciled, I can still find delight in the Lord. Even if the mistake that I made has cost me a job or cost me a relationship, it hadn't cost me my relationship with God. And for that, I rejoice. I find delight in that. And so, even though what I hoped for hadn't got here yet, I'm still delightful. If I delight, then I'm going to be delightful. I can't be saying like, oh, I'm waiting on the Lord to do this and be a nasty person and just be grumpy, like, well, it hasn't come yet. It hasn't happened. Oh, God's going to do it, but golly, when? Like, that's not Jesus. That's not Christian. That's I don't know what that is, but that's a nasty attitude. And it's one that I'm guilty of having on several occasions. And I have learned, and I'm trying to put into practice, that I should be a delightful person while I am waiting. The next part says patient in tribulation, or patient in affliction. So not only are we delightful in waiting, but we're not prone to giving up. Tribulation. What is tribulation? Affliction. Like, those are really hard sounding Bible words, because we don't use those in our regular conversation with people. It's pressure. To be in tribulation, to experience affliction, is to literally be under pressure, even if the pressure is coming from the inside. Like, I am under pressure on the inside because of what's going on the inside. Nobody can see the pressure that I am under. And I know every last one of us has experienced that invisible pressure. No one can see it. We got to go and we put on a happy face and we just try to get through the day and not be a burden on folks and drag everybody down. But in reality, we are struggling. But patience is staying put. It's literally to remain under. Paul was cold with that pen, man, or chisel, or however he wrote this. But because the words he used, he said, under pressure, remaining under. Remaining under when under pressure. When I'm under pressure, I stay there. When I'm under pressure, I don't buckle from the pressure. I don't collapse because of the pressure. And I don't run from the pressure either. I don't abandon the relationships. I don't abandon the jobs. I don't abandon or avoid the conversations just because of some pressure. No, I remain under. the pressure. That's what it means to be patient in affliction. And eventually they that wait on the Lord will have renewed strength and will mount up on wings like eagles and will run and not grow weary and will walk and not faint eventually. But we got to stay up under the pressure. When we are under pressure, real Christians stay under the pressure. Consistent in prayer, faithful in prayer. This is the last part of verse 12. And that is simply to continuously demonstrate trust in God. Real Christians are continuously demonstrating trust in God. To be constant in prayer or to be faithful, that is to be steadfast, continue, and with effort. Like, don't stop, can't stop, won't stop. And this all goes together. Like, this was all one sentence where he said, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, and consistent in prayer. Like, these go together. These three go together. I rejoice in hope. I'm patient. I'm gonna stay up under the pressure that I'm under. I'm not gonna give up. And I'm gonna continuously demonstrate my trust in God. Well, what's that got to do with praying? Well, prayer is going back to him. And if you've prayed ever, then you have probably experienced what felt like an unanswered prayer or a delay in an answer to prayer. God's answers to prayer are yes, no, and wait. Like, wait for the answer, not wait for yes, like just wait and find out. But we keep going back to him in prayer. When someone is sick, we keep going back to them, going back to him in prayer. Because remember, and it blows my mind every time I think through it, God is outside of time. God exists in eternity. Time was created so he could create us and bring us into eternity with him. So while we experience things chronologically, God experiences things from the outside of our lived experience. Because he's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He's seen it all because he made it all. There's nothing that happens under heaven that he is not aware of. Consider the lilies. They do not toil and spin, yet God sends rain and sends sunshine. Everything. God knows the whole cycle. And so while somebody is sick and we're praying and they don't get healed immediately, and we go back and pray again, that's trusting in God. Because listen here, y'all are real spiritual, like A1 super Christian spiritual, all of you. I speak it now and in hopes that it'll be. But if I'm praying to God for something, I'm not going to ask him and then come ask one of y'all. Unless he specifically says, Jonathan is going to give you $25. Oh, okay. And I'm going to go, Jonathan, you got anything you can help me with? And the Lord will already have told him, give him $25 and put something extra on it. That's what I think would happen. But I keep going to God, believing that even though it has not happened yet, that he's the one who can do it. And so I pray for my children. He already knows the end, but I got to live through it. But I keep on going back to him because I trust him continually. Ain't nobody, listen here, let me tell you, if you have kids or you work with kids or you babysat somebody's kids or you remember when you was a kid or you still childish yourself, you know ain't nobody can help no child but God. God is the only one. And so we got to continually pray while we sit up under the pressure that we're under, rejoicing in hope because of the grace that we've got. And then finally, contribute to the needs of the saints or share with the Lord's people who are in need. And seek to show hospitality. Real Christians are rarely seen trying to go it alone. And real Christians are always looking for people to love on. Real Christians are rarely seen trying to go it alone, and real Christians are always looking for people to love on. This is from verse 13. Contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality. So to contribute, when you make a contribution, when we make a contribution or when we share, that speaks to some collectiveness. There's a partnership. So where do I get this idea of trying to go it alone? Well, real Christians don't try to go it alone. And so in the sense of our Christian community, but when we got stuff going on, when we not feeling right, when we feeling low, I reached out to the group chat this morning. I was not having a good morning. I told my group chat what was going on. I can't do this alone. If I would have isolated myself and just took it on, like it was a lot. Real Christians, when we are truly in a faith community as followers of Jesus, identifying and loving one another like brothers and sisters, I'm not going to isolate myself. I'm going to be a part of the collective, be a part of the community. I'm going to contribute to the community. And so is everyone in the community, because everybody has a turn at having a need. If we would lean into one another, some of the issues that some of us are struggling with all by ourselves right now, we might not be struggling with all by ourselves. Maybe somebody who needs an extra $50 till tomorrow would have got the $50 if they had just said, yo, I'm short and I need groceries. They're going to cut these lights off, and then my alarm clock not going to go off, and I'm going to miss the train, and I'm going to lose my job. I need $25. Maybe, or I need prayer. I am feeling down. I am feeling depressed. I feel like there's no reason to live. I just had a bad day, or I need a resource. I lost my job. Do you have any idea how many resources there are amongst us if we would just quit trying to do everything by ourselves and not let other people know that we got issues? And finally, seek to show hospitality. The word here is philoxenia. Philoxenia. Philo, like brotherly love. Xenia. Not xenophobia. Philoxenia. Xenia, xeno, same word. It means strangers. Hospitality is loving on strangers. And this goes together with not doing stuff alone, but loving on strangers. Philoxenia, not xenophobia. And I'm not just talking about refugees, and I'm not just talking about immigrants. I'm talking about every single lump of dust that God has breathed life into. We should be seeking, we should be looking, we should be pursuing, we should be earnestly pursuing to love on people. But we should be always, real Christians are always looking for somebody to love on. Real Christians are real in relationships, attracted to the things of God, committed to each other like sisters and brothers, always looking for ways to honor each other, fully intent on obedience, deeply committed to submission, delightful in the waiting, not prone to giving up, continuously demonstrating trust in God, rarely seen trying to go it alone, and always looking for people to love on.